Hi, everyone, and welcome to another NextGen Tech Talk. I'm Anna, Operations and Customer Success Manager at Aero NextGen. For those who might not know us, Aero NextGen helps aviations and MRO organizations discover and compare the right solutions and technology for their operations. Today, we'll explore the future of aviation ERP and how AI can become an engine for real measurable ROI across aftermarket operations. Joining us today is Scott Loescher, founder and CEO of AvSight. Thank you, Scott, for being here today.
Oh, very nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
So before we begin, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about AvSight?
My name is Scott Loescher, as you mentioned. I'm the founder and CEO of AvSight, and we're an ERP focused on the aviation aftermarket sector. So mostly on the parts distribution, MRO, leasing, those types of industries. Um, I've been in the industry for about 26 years now, which is fairly hard to believe.
That's nice. Thank you so much for sharing, Scott. So let's get started. Across the aftermarket, whether you're a supplier, a repair shop, or a parts distributor, revenue leaks in the same familiar places. Manual coding, slow approvals, data scattered across systems. These inefficiencies are easy to ignore until you add them up. Where do you see AI tools delivering the clearest return by removing that friction? And how should a business think about the ROI of fixing it?
We see that quite a bit. And I think, first of all, the reason those leaks, as you described them, they persist is because really nobody's tracking them. They're kind of invisible, right? So nobody necessarily logs in a system or looks up a system that individual sales rep spent 25 minutes building a quote where really it probably should have only taken, 3 or 5. They don't record that as a loss anywhere. So it's just routine. It's what they do on a average day. And so to us, what we really see from an ROI or return is in fixing it is coordinating all the work. So things like reading the RFQ emails or looking up all the price history in the system, or rekeying a response that came back from a vendor, or keying the one that went out in the first place, chasing the follow-ups, all those different things. Those particular things is really where we see those leaks, that time that just takes forever. And that's not work that needs to be done by a highly competent, very intelligent employee. Those are people that know the market, they know the industry, but they're spending their time doing data entry, or spending their time looking up information in a system. That's perfect work that can be done for a computer or AI. So as you mentioned, my advice for the ROI is just start with where all the touches are. Don't look at technology. You don't have to necessarily focus on that. Just pick a workflow, like a quoting process or an RFQ process or any of those different things. Count all the touch points where someone needs to do it by hand, and then multiply that by how many quotes you're doing per day or how many lines you're doing per day. It can get shocking pretty quick. So if something would normally take 10 minutes, but if you could automate that down to just a couple of minutes, when you do that thousands of times a month, those leaks really add up very, very quickly. And that's one of the reasons we built AvSight Intelligence, is to automate all of that busy work, so you can let your highly competent employees do the stuff that they need to be doing that can add value.
And most aviation companies, they sit on years of data, parts numbers, condition codes, repair history, pricing, but it's fragmented across disconnected systems. So it rarely works for them and often is a barrier to AI. How does modern AI tools turn that scattered data into something that actually drives better, faster decisions and a measurable return?
Yeah, and another really good question. And in all honesty, that concern is legitimate. That when we talk to a lot of companies, their data isn't as clean as they would like. I think very few aviation companies would say that their data is as clean as they would like. Sometimes it is scattered across systems. A lot of times it's not in a system. So they might have their main ERP system, but then they could be tracking some other information in Excel, or they could have it in email or different little things like that. But I would caution against looking at both of those as the same thing, starting AI versus cleaning up your data. Sometimes they get lumped together, saying, well, we have to clean up all our data before we can do anything with AI. And I really don't think that that's necessarily true. You don't necessarily have to finish the first to start the second. You don't have to clean up all your data to make it perfect. And then before you get any ROI using AI or any of those tools, there's so many workflows that don't really necessarily depend on historical data. So even things like triaging your email, your RFQ emails that come in, or routing requests to the right one instead of searching through inboxes or chasing follow-ups on quotes. None of that requires intense perfect data. They can even start deterministic. So just basically if then type automation, and then can layer on intelligence as the data gets cleaner or if there's a real issue with it. We've tried to do the same thing internally within our business. We've standardized a lot of different data. We've used AI tools to help clean it up. We have AI tools within AvSight that help with that as well. And so every time you do that, you build those workflows out using the AvSight intelligence tools or any tool, and then you start layering in the AI on top of that, whether it's pricing or anything else as your data, you're feeling more comfortable about your data. You really start seeing exponential returns on those automations because you're getting the early benefits, but then you can continue to do it. So messy data is a real thing, but it's not really a reason to wait. There's just so many things that you can do even with the data as it is today.
And another major challenge across the aviation aftermarket is finding and retaining experienced people. What role can AI plays in helping companies increase productivity without having to expand their teams? And how can they measure the ROI of this productivity gain?
In fact, again, we see this over and over again with the companies that we work with. The biggest constraint that they have, the hardest thing is to find really good people for the team. In fact, it takes years to train someone who can understand the aftermarket. It's a complicated business. They're not just looking up one piece of information and then transposing it into a quote. They really need to understand the market. They need to understand relationships with the customer. Those things are absolutely critical. The problem we see is those, really important employees, really important team members, they're getting bogged down with things that add no benefit to the company, like, again, data entry or transposing that we're doing research or all of these different, for different particular parts. And so that doesn't need an expert. That needs a good system to be able to do it. So you can free up the time of all of those talented employees and let them build relationships, spend time with customers. So that's, again, really what we're trying to do is flip the ratio with AI and with intelligence, is really getting your best people away from being editors, typists of data in the system, and really switching them over to being those experts that you hired them to be for. So the easiest way to measure that ROI is the output per person. It's quotes per day, but not because they're entering them by hand, but how many they're reviewing, how many they're using their expertise to understand the pricing. But let the AI system, let AvSight Intelligence do all of the work in the background, get it all prepped, do all of those different things, and then present the final result that they can apply their expertise in instead of doing all of that busy work in the past. So your employees become much happier. They want to be there because they're using their judgment. They're not just doing data entry all day.
And that's especially relevant in an industry where so much operational knowledge depends on experienced professionals. So in aviation, mistakes are expensive. Miscertification, wrong condition code, a compliance gap can cost far more than the deal itself. How do intelligent capabilities reduce that risk across suppliers, repairs, and MRO operations? And why is avoided cost a real and underrated form of ROI?
Yeah, another really good question and very relevant to the aviation market. This industry, if it's the wrong condition that you sent out, or a cert that didn't get sent out, or a cert that didn't match what their requirements were, all of that could lead to a return, or it could lead to an RMA or a much larger issue. So that really hurts companies when that happens. So in my opinion here, what AI adds here isn't necessarily the brilliance of AI and knowing every single thing every single time, but it's the consistency. It's building those systems and processes into a tool that follows those structured instructions every single time, whether it's the first thing Monday morning or the last thing Friday afternoon. Those instructions are followed every single time. The other thing that I see happen quite often is we need to make sure that the AI and the agents and all the decisions are made, they're fully traceable. You need to know, like, why did the AI agent make that decision, or why did it come up with that price, or why did it pick that piece of inventory, or why did it send that quote? Why did it ask for a person to review it before it went out? All of those actions have to get logged into the system. You need full traceability of everything that every agent does within the system, because an auditor will ask you the same questions about the AI as they would ask an employee. And the answer of like the AI decided to do it is not an answer. So you need to know exactly like why did it do it? You have to trace the decision back to the data that drove that particular decision. So all of those different things on how you write the rules and how the system executes within it, when it pauses for approval on a step, all of those things prevent that cost of mistakes or having to repeat it because that ROI is real. If you're having to redo it, that really costs you problems. And again, the AI is executing your rules every single time consistently, so you can get that traceability.
I agree with you. I think the value of AI isn't limited to it helps the company produce. It also includes the risk and the cost, and that helps the company to avoid. So for our final question, let's look at where the company should begin and what they should prepare for next. So for aviation business that sees the potential of AI but aren't sure where to start, what's the smartest first step to achieve a quick return? Without committing to a long, risky project and looking 3 to 5 years ahead, what AI-driven capabilities will become standard across suppliers, MRO repair shops, and part sales? In other words, what feels innovative today but won't be optional tomorrow?
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite topics is how to get started and what does the future look like. I absolutely love this particular topic. This is my opinion here and my thoughts here is really driven by what we've seen implementing AvSight intelligence and AI with our customers. What we really see over and over again are the ones that benefit the most are don't look at it as this is a massive project that we have to automate everything or we have to implement all of AI across the entire thing. Really, what we recommend is just start with one high volume, really painful, lots of touch point kind of workflow. If we can think of, most aftermarket, whether it's USM or distribution or anything like that, it's really that quoting process, right? We see that thousands and thousands. It's where we started. We've since added quite a number of additional agents since, but we really started with the quoting side because it is very transactional. It's higher volume. So start there first. Just do something simple of getting it out of your email and into the system. Then starting adding like triage and quoting and automatic replies for material you don't necessarily have in stock or whatever those rules might be. Do those first. Do a simple implementation first. It gives you that really clean, this is what it looked like before, this is what it looked like after. You can very quickly see those results. And then over time, you can expand it, add other agents, add here and there, add pricing, all of these different things you can add. So really, that's the way we suggest is start something that's the most high volume, and then you can continue to expand over time like that. The second part of the question I really love, which is like looking 3 to 5 years out. I think 3 to 5 years is an eternity when we talk about technology and AI at this point. But what I think where we're headed is what we're really starting to see is the expansion of the agents working across multiple workflows. So if we think of something like our quoting agent, for instance, it's designed to work on the quoting side, to price material and to ask for advice or to help or approval of all of these different things. But as soon as it hits any block, so in most aviation companies, let's say something's not in stock, I don't have any alternates, I don't have anything that I can supply, I have nothing coming in on PO. The next thing I need to do is now go find it in the market, or I need to go look for it if it's for a customer I want to do. That handoff, that ability to have all of those different agents. So now that we have an RFQ agent, it can go do all that work. It can send out RFQs and search the market and do it all its own. Those agents collaborating together and being able to work together, doing all of that research work for ultimately human approval is where I think we'll really see the benefits of it, because now it's not just one small process. You're starting to have all of these different agents across all these different areas within the company all collaborate together to finish an entire process. And I really think that that's where we'll really start seeing a lot of benefits as all of those things start happening. We're seeing it today.
That's a great point to end on. Business don't need to transform everything at once. I think they need to at least start and see a operational goal, right? Scott, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights into the future of aviation ERP and how AI can drive measurable or ROI across the aftermarket operations. And thank you everyone for watching. If you'd like to learn more about AvSight or explore other aviation technology solutions, visit Aero NextGen and discover solutions across ERP, MRO, inventory management, compliance, and much more.